Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Greg Vetzweiser, and I'm the contract specialist for Metropolitan Energy Center. And along with Lane Stracener, our communications coordinator, and David Albrecht, MEC's Senior Program Coordinator of Sustainable Transportation, today we'll be going over the details, documents, and submission process for our current procurement opportunity, Clean Diesel Replacement Funding 2025. Attendees will be on mute throughout the presentation, so if you have any questions, please type them into the chat window of the GoToWebinar screen, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. Additionally, applicants are encouraged to submit questions after the presentation. Please email them to rfa@metroenergy.org with the subject line, query for DERA RFA. Questions for this procurement round will be accepted until June 16th. Answers will be posted publicly to the MEC website, and where discrepancies exist between the webinar and the associated RFA guidance document, the guidance document will prevail. Recording of this presentation will be available on the MEC website, and a link will be shared with attendees. If you haven't already, please sign up for notifications. Next slide. Thank you. Before diving into the details, we'll start with our program's requirements, breaking down the application process, eligibility criteria, and timelines so you feel confident moving forward. After that, we'll discuss how to align your project with sustainability goals, ensuring that it contributes to long-term environmental and economic benefits, as well as how your project can have a lasting impact. Next slide. And our agenda for today is as follows: an overview of MEC's Clean Diesel Replacement Funding opportunity, a detailed review of the application requirements, including documents, evaluation criteria, and format, a brief discussion of administrative conditions, and wrapping up with a Q&A session during which we will address questions in the chat as well as common questions we have received. Next slide. Our timeline, here's the timeline for the initial round of this RFA. The RFA was released May 29th and has a June 16th, 2025 deadline for questions. Submission deadline for this round is June 30th at 4 p.m. Central Time, and MEC expects to notify those selected by July 11th. The deadlines for this RFA will continue to rotate approximately every 30 days until all funds are allocated. It is our hope that by offering rolling deadlines, we are providing flexibility for applicants and ensuring that these funds are distributed based on demand and availability. Next slide, please. Emissions from heavy-duty vehicles, particularly those operating in or near residential areas, significantly contribute to poor air quality, which in turn exacerbates asthma, illness, school absences, and can lead to early mortality. Our current Clean Diesel Replacement Funding solicitation, supported by the EPA's National Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, is approximately $1.7 million in federal funding available, and MEC plans to select up to 6 projects. Proposed deployments should be scheduled within 4 to 13 months, with the final deployment deadline of June 30th, 2026. Our main goal is to identify applicants who will replace their Class 5 through Class 8 diesel vehicles with comparable vehicles powered by electricity, propane, or compressed natural gas to significantly reduce diesel engine emissions. Next slide. Funding for this program will be provided as a rebate, and MEC reserves the right to not fund or provide partial funding. Federal reimbursement will range from 25% to 45% of the total cost and purchase and installation, depending on the technology selected. Applicants must provide cost sharing for project expenditures, and those willing to increase their cost share beyond the minimum will improve their chances of being selected. However, increasing the cost share does not guarantee a successful application. Selected applicants must ensure that both the vehicle being replaced and their replacements meet the program's eligibility criteria. New vehicles must perform the same work as the diesel ones being replaced and have comparable horsepower and displacement. The geographic scope for this funding is primarily Kansas and Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska. Priority will be given to projects operating in non-attainment or maintenance areas with elevated diesel particulate matter concentrations. Next slide. Reimbursement rates and cost sharing. Cost sharing requirements apply to all projects and depend on technology selected. As previously stated, applicants willing to forego some funding, for instance, asking for a 20% reimbursement instead of the 25% maximum on a vehicle replacement, will improve their chances of approval, though doing so cannot guarantee selection. Next slide. As we said, the replacement vehicles must be powered by compressed natural gas, propane, or electricity. The vehicles being replaced must be Class 5 to Class 8 diesel vehicles, that is, with a gross vehicle rating of 13,001 pounds to over 33,000 pounds. Eligible categories include school and transit buses, off-road terminal trucks, hostlers, yard goats, and so on, work trucks, trash haulers, short-haul delivery trucks, and long-haul freight tractors. Engine model year of vehicles being replaced impacts the eligible technology that can be deployed or installed. Applicants cannot use DERA funding to enlarge a fleet or for fueling infrastructure, except for limited electric charging support. Next slide. To ensure the planned replacement or upfit is certified and eligible under these funds, and to confirm eligibility of old vehicles, go to the website of the California Air Resources Board and search engine family names. A link to the website is in the guidance document, and vehicles are listed by engine model year, type, and original equipment manufacturer. New vehicles must perform substantially the same work as the units they replace and have largely the same horsepower and displacement. Increases of up to 10% of the GVWR within an engine's intended service class may be allowed for vocational trucks, but the EPA must agree to variances like this before purchasing. And non-diesel vehicles are not eligible for replacement. Next slide. For the 2 years preceding, on-road vehicles must have an averaged minimum of 7,000 miles per year for the 2 years preceding application. Off-road vehicles must have an averaged minimum 500 hours of use for the 2 years preceding the application. Scrapping is required, and all vehicles replaced under this program must be destroyed. There are specific requirements for the scrapping process, including prescribed methods, photographs, site visits, and sales receipts. Old units must be scrapped within 90 days of the date that replacement vehicles are placed in service. And any income from scrapping old units will be subtracted from applicant rebates. Next slide. Additionally, the participating fleet owner must currently own and operate the existing vehicle and have owned and operated the vehicle during the 2 years prior to upgrade. The vehicle being scrapped must have at least 3 years of remaining life at the time of upgrade, and remaining life is the fleet owner's estimate of the number of years until the unit would have been retired from service, even if the unit were to be rebuilt or sold, and includes factors like age, condition, usage, maintenance, and so on. Note, annual mileage and operating hours from 2 units may be combined to reach the minimum requirement, and those units being scrapped and replaced will be with a single new unit. Next slide. As reviewers, MEC will prioritize factors like reducing criteria air pollutants, reduced use of petroleum diesel in school buses, electrification of heavy diesel vehicles, and applicant participation in outreach and public awareness campaigns. In addition, EPA guidelines prioritize these short-term outcomes. Improvements within the goods movement sector, including rail and freight terminals, ports and distribution centers, electric and gaseous fuel vehicle deployments within communities hurt by air pollution, inclusion of plans for workforce readiness and worker training through alternative fuel deployments involving drivers, technicians, mechanics, and other essential personnel, inclusion of plans to protect funded investments from negative weather impacts, floods, storm damage, and so on. Data capture and lessons learned is an important goal, and projects on the leading edge of technology are encouraged. These will be leveraged into project success stories and shared through our business and community relationships using targeted outreach and educational peer-to-peer presentations. Next slide. Long-term benefits and outcomes will include reduction of NOx, particulate matter, and other criteria air pollutants, better air quality for communities hurt by pollution, and expanded market acceptance of electric and gaseous fuel vehicle deployment, moving towards a self-sustaining regional and national alternative fuel markets. Next slide. Criteria for evaluation. All applicants will be reviewed by a committee consisting of MEC staff and other members offering technical evaluations and assistance as necessary. Applicants will be notified if additional information or documentation is required. No additional information pertaining to submission, including email and phone calls, will be considered once the review process for that round is underway. When evaluating projects for funding, applications will be evaluated based on a variety of criteria, including the impact on non-attainment areas, the volume of diesel fuel displaced, cost effectiveness, and the geographic location of the project. Other factors, such as outreach participation and workforce readiness, will also be considered. Next slide. The evaluation criteria. So this table breaks down the weight for each category. I'll read through it. Category 1, deployment in non-attainment or maintenance area, PM 2.5 concentration. That is a weight of 25. Diesel fuel reduced, another weight of 25. Duty cycle, school transit buses, urban freight multimodal yards, all others have a potential weight of 15. Cost effectiveness, that's the cost sharing percentage, is a weight of 15. Operating geography, Kansas and Missouri, Nebraska and Iowa, have a weight of 10. Other programs, outreach participation, workforce readiness, has a weight of 10, and for a combined total possible score of 100 points. Next slide. Applications for this round are due June 30th, 2025. And as we stated, the deadlines for this RFA will continue to rotate monthly until all funds are allocated. Only electronic applications will be accepted. Hard copy applications will not be accepted. Please email your application to rfa@metroenergy.org, subject clean diesel replacement funding, and then your name. Applicants will receive an email response notification of the receipt of their application within 2 business days upon submission. MEC is not responsible for technical or transmittal issues when submitting a grant application. Next slide. Application form and budget worksheets are required, and other supporting materials such as quotes, maps, etc. are recommended. Additional narrative, up to 3 pages, is optional. Next slide. Now, let's get into the forms. Next slide. On the application, Section A, applicants should provide their company details, federal employment identification number, it's the FEIN, the UEI, and contact information for their authorized official and the project manager. Next slide. In Section B, applicants will provide the budget details and specifics of their project. Field number 4, The total project budget needs to include the costs for all project components for both the applicant and federal shares and must match the budget form summary sheet. In field number 5, you enter the sum of the federal funds requested. Again, the requested amount for federal funds must match the budget form summary sheet. On field 6, enter the anticipated month and year when the vehicle deployment will be completed. Reminder that our final deployment deadline is June 2026. With number 7, enter the total number of new electric or gaseous fueled vehicles and or charging equipment for your project. And number 8, project description. Briefly describe operations and operating conditions. For example, Class 8 trucks used for off-road goods movement in suburban settings, or possibly urban transit fleet on short routes, or rural school bus fleet running 2 daily routes. Whatever description applies. Then Section C, by signing and dating, applicants certify that the statements and information provided are true and accurate, and the applicant agrees to provide the required documentation and assurances necessary to complete the funding process. Next slide. Under Section D, project details, applicants will provide additional project information such as type of project, duty cycle, and plans for outreach and workforce readiness. Field number 10, type of project. Just check all that apply. Field number 11, describe the duty cycle of your project. And if none of the options available apply, please enter a short description. For example, Class 6 utility work truck, something along those lines. On number 12, enter the percentage of operating time the diesel vehicle you want to replace spends in each county or area listed. And this operating time should total 100%. Our assessment process gives extra weight to projects based in Kansas and Missouri, but projects based in other parts of Region 7, Iowa and Nebraska, are also eligible. Next slide. With field 13, outreach, you should describe public engagement activities, as well as availability for peer networking and panel presentations to peers and industry in the region and or nationally. And field 14, project sustainability, please briefly discuss ways you plan to maintain your electrification or clean fuel project after the project ends. Now let's transition to our overview of the budget workbook and have a sip of water. Next slide. The budget workbook. This is a required document and should be completed carefully, following the guidance provided in the RFA. You download the Excel workbook at the RFA webpage. That's our procurement page on the Metro Energy website, and instructions for filling in the budget workbook are included in the fleet data tab and that Excel workbook. General notes regarding the use of the workbook. This is a self-calculating form, so do not change any of the field formulas, and the workbook contains 3 tabs: summary, fleet data, and scrapping. Next slide. The summary tab. Fill in your organization's name under applicant. The summary tab contains formulas and will calculate total project costs, as well as show the federal request and applicant share. These should add to a total project budget. For example, $45,000 federal and $55,000 applicant equals a $100,000 total project. Next slide. And this is a snip of the fleet data tab. You'd fill in your proposed rebate percentage, the federal share, in the indicated field. Follow instructions to calculate a blended cost sharing rate if planning on more than one category of replacement. For each fleet group, include the entire cost, not just the federal amount. Add columns as needed to fully describe the units or fleet groups included in your application. The subtotal and overall federal and applicant cost sharing splits will be reflected on the summary tab. Your request may include up to $1.7 million in federal funding for cost shared projects. Your total budget should include all costs associated with purchase and installation, necessary training, planning, and anticipated outreach costs. Contact rfa@metroenergy.org for help with the budget workbook if needed. Next slide. The scrapping tab. All units replaced under this program must be destroyed using specified scrapping methods and be documented with photographs and scrap sale invoices. Income from scrapping will be reported in the scrapping tab and be subtracted from applicant reimbursements. Next slide. So to recap, the required documents, you have your application form. This is required. Download the PDF application form to a desktop to use all the features and signature fields. Follow the instructions on the form and save as a PDF. Call the file applicant name application. The budget and fleet data form, another required document. Download the Excel file from the procurement webpage and follow the instructions in the fleet data tab of the Excel file to fill in the fields. See also instructions and the information in the application form and save as an Excel file and name the file applicant name _ budget. For other supporting documents, these are recommended. In a combined PDF, provide other support documents, including vehicle and any infrastructure quotes. Use links from section 3.b to generate maps that show your project location in relation to non-attainment or maintenance zones or areas of heavy PM 2.5 concentrations. Combine all support documents into a single PDF and name the file applicant name _ other attachments. Additional narrative, this is optional. Additional narratives are limited to 3 pages, and if the spaces provided in the application form are inadequate, applicants are welcome to state, see additional narrative in the form fields and provide a longer narrative as an attachment. More information is always welcome. However, the omission of the additional narrative will not affect your chances for selection. Save it as a PDF and name the file applicant name _ narrative. Next slide. Take a sip. Excuse me. This is a list of the administrative terms and conditions as found in the guidance document. Visit metroenergy.org//DERA/funding to download. First off, proprietary confidential information. Any restrictions on the use or inspection of material contained within the application shall be clearly stated in the application itself. Written requests by the applicant for confidentiality shall be submitted to MEC in advance of the application submission deadline, along with the application material. The applicant must state specifically what elements of the application are to be considered confidential or proprietary and must be packaged separately from the rest of the application. Commingling of confidential and proprietary and other sensitive information is not acceptable. Neither an application in its entirety nor application price information will be considered confidential and proprietary. Any information that will be included in any resulting agreement cannot be considered confidential. Organization conflict of interest. Any business entity or individual may be ineligible for selection if they are found to have an organizational conflict of interest, as outlined in the RFA, in relation to the solicitation and the resulting agreement. Applicants must disclose any potential conflicts of interest. Individuals or business entities who have been engaged by MEC to assist in preparing the original application or who have access to sensitive information related to this procurement process prior to the solicitation including but not limited to requirements, statements of work, or evaluation criteria, will not be eligible to directly or indirectly apply. MEC considers such prior engagement or access as an organizational conflict of interest, as it may create an unfair competitive advantage. RFA response, material ownership. MEC has the right to retain applicants' original applications and other RFA response materials for its files. Binding offer. An application submitted in response to this RFA shall constitute a binding offer. Debarment and suspension. By submitting an application in response to this RFA, the applicant certifies that its principals and proposed subcontractors, if any, are not presently debarred, suspended, proposed for disbarment, declared ineligible, or voluntarily excluded from covered transactions by any federal debarment or agency as outlined in the RFA. Disclaimer. All statistical and fiscal information contained within this RFA and any amendments and modifications thereto reflect the best and most accurate information available to MEC at the time of RFA preparation. As previously mentioned, applicants are required to provide their federal employer identification number and their unique entity identifier, as well as a copy of their IRS W-9 form. Incurred costs. MEC is not liable for any cost incurred by the applicant prior to issuance of a legally executed agreement, purchase order, or other authorized acquisition document. Compliance with all federal, state, and municipal laws and regulations. Successful applicants shall comply with applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations in the performance of all work under the resulting agreement. Successful applicants shall obtain all federal, state, and local permits, authorizations, and approvals for all work performed under the agreement, and this includes the governing agreement between MEC and the DPA. Successful applicants who complete a contract agreement will manage and expend funding to maximize these benefits, including commencing expenditures and activities as quickly as possible, consistent with prudent management. Contract planning, evaluation, and vendor selection will be required to align with the program's core goals. Next slide. Selection process. MEC reserves the right to request additional information from applicants prior to the final determination. Funding decisions will be based on a competitive process, and not all applications may receive funding. MEC reserves the right to delay any decision due to budgetary constraints. MEC reserves the right to vary from the evaluation criteria listed within this document during the bid solicitation period as necessary or appropriate. Any modifications to evaluation criteria will be posted to MEC's website. It is the responsibility of the applicant to check for these changes. The selection notices for round 1 are anticipated to be made by July 11th, and applicants will be notified of the review committee's determinations via email. Successful applicants are expected to sign and return the agreement to MEC within 2 weeks of receiving the documents unless otherwise noted in writing by the MEC contract specialist. Funding decisions are final. Selection is based on a competitive process where applications are weighed against each other and overall program goals. Any changes to an applicant's scope of work after funds are allocated or if not approved by MEC will not be permitted and may lead to nullification. Next slide. All funding is contingent on the accuracy of the information provided in the application and will require the successful applicant to maintain accountability and submit regular reports. These reports must follow the procedures set by MEC. Additionally, MEC staff will conduct periodic site visits during and after installation to ensure compliance with the agreement. The following reporting requirements will be included in MEC's agreement with the successful applicants. Successful applicants will join monthly status calls with other project participants. Additionally, successful applicants must submit a written progress report every quarter outlining activities under this agreement. It will be the responsibility of the successful applicants to prepare and submit these reports on time. Failure to do so may lead to delayed payment of funds or termination of the agreement. The report will refer to the status of work to be performed pursuant to this agreement, including a description of the deliverables and tasks completed during the reporting period. It will include a description of any findings or results, any unanticipated outcomes or roadblocks encountered, and any potential future applications of project results. The report will indicate clearly whether work is proceeding according to schedule, ahead or behind schedule. If the work is behind, the report must include a summary of the reasons for the delay and a plan of action to bring the project back on schedule, which will be subject to review and approval. Successful applicants will produce and submit to MEC a final project completion report that provides a technical account of the total work performed and contains a comprehensive description of the work tasks specified herein, the results achieved, documenting the successes, lessons learned, and a financial summary outlining expenditures. Next slide. Payments will be made in accordance with the contract terms. MEC will reimburse reasonable, allocable, and allowable costs associated with eligible vehicles purchased or equipment installed based on satisfactory monthly progress and the necessary documentation of work outlined in the agreement as determined by MEC. The successful applicant will only be compensated for equipment that has been installed by them and accepted by MEC in accordance with the terms of the agreement. Compliance with all local building and operational codes as demonstrated by a signed permit or similar from the local authority having jurisdiction is required for construction activities. Non-compliance will result in nullification of the agreement and repayment of any funds. Payment will also be contingent upon MEC's timely receipt and approval of the required reports as specified in this agreement. That concludes the formal part of this presentation. Time for some Q&A. As a reminder, this recording will be available on our website in a couple days, and please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Let's open the chat. Lane, do we have any questions from our attendees?
I am not seeing anything right now.
Okay, well, we don't have any questions for you guys, so we'll give it another second. So take a sip of water. Okay, if we don't have any questions.
Oh, I've seen one. Allowed to apply for per project?
Allowed to apply for per project. As in submitting multiple applications?
I assume that's what that means.
Okay, well, I think we want applicants to combine their projects into one application. But please correct me if I'm misunderstanding.
Okay. Oh, I'm seeing more questions, but they're
Okay, here we go.
They're showing up one at a time, so I'm trying to figure out how to see them all. Is there a maximum amount that is allowed to apply per project?
The maximum amount available is the same as the amount that is that applicants are allowed to apply for, which is approximately $1.7 million.
Okay, I think there was another question we trying to think.
Something about Kansas. Where did that go?
Why? See it? Bigger.
Here we go.
Are there any non-attainment / maintenance areas in Kansas?
That is something that you are going to find in what is colloquially called the Environmental Protection Agency's Green Book. This is an online resource that provides information as to areas of poor air quality, of concern, out of compliance, or in maintenance status. The link to the Green Book is provided in the guidance document, which is available online through the funding DARA project information link. You'll find that there. If need be, I think we can probably post it to participants in today's meeting, but it is located in the RFA guidance document.
Very good.
Is there something else?
I think we answered them all. 3 questions.
Budget.
If you have any more, feel free to send them.
Actually, you're on mute. You're definitely live there.
Well, we'll give it another couple seconds.
Sure.
And yeah, thank you for your questions. I appreciate that. And if you do have any other questions after, please don't hesitate to email rfa@metroenergy.org.
Oh, okay.
Another question has come in.
Yep. What happens if final project costs are different from application estimates?
That's not uncommon. What will determine that is the budget that is set after selection and during negotiations with MEC. If you have a set amount that is specified in the professional services agreement between your organization and Metropolitan Energy Center, that budget amount cannot change. Once it is agreed to based on your best estimates, on bids, on prospectuses for vehicles or equipment, that's pretty much written in stone. It's by the same general rule that once we have an agreement with EPA for DARA programs, we cannot change the amount of federal funding allocated to a given project. So again, I think the idea here would be prepare carefully with ample evidence of what you think vehicle costs may be, but once it is agreed to in the contract between you and our organization, that budget total cannot be changed. We have had instances in the past where the number of vehicles has changed over time, or the locations of vehicles have changed over time. And that's something that would be something for further discussion with MEC staff and with the project managers on our team.
Thank you, David. And definitely please apply. Don't let something like an uncertainty delay your application. We want to move forward quickly. So
yes, we're eager to give away all this money and get these projects up on wheels. No pun intended.
Nice. Okay. Are there any other questions in the queue at the moment, Lane?
Nope.
Okay. With that, once again, the due date for round 1 of this RFA is June 30th at 4 p.m. And again, the schedule will be rotating approximately every 30 days until all of the funds are allocated. And again, if you have any questions about the requirements, please email rfa@metroenergy.org. And this will be available. This webinar will be available, and please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you have any technical questions or need help applying, please email MEC's Transportation Program Coordinator, Drew Ahrens, at drew.aarons@metroenergy.org. And again, there is the RFA general questions and email address that I just stated, the RFA@metroenergy.org. So with that, thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Greg Betzweiser, and along with Lane Strasener and David Albrecht, the Metropolitan Energy Center looks forward to reviewing your applications for clean diesel replacement funding. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.